Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Hiku community here today. I have to apologise for the late start morning. I had hearings prior to this. So I'd like to ask...
I think we've already done it.
No, we have to still do it for this meeting, this particular meeting.
Right. I'll open them.
Thank you.
Thank you. E te tō ahomai kia mātou, tō rangi mare, tō aroha, tō kaha, mō maramatanga, mō tēnei rā. Lord, give us your peace, your wisdom, a clear head to make good choices for our community. We pray a blessing over everyone here, our community, our town, and our country. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone that this is a live streamed meeting today. So now I'd like to call on any apologies or conflicts of interest, please.
Madam Chair, I was a submitter to item 7.5 Rangitoto Reserve, so I won't take part in that discussion.
Madam Chair, I've got a conflict in the Eipara Aroha application for funding.
I'll move. Thank you. So we're now in public forum. So
we just need to vote. We've moved and seconded. We just
all in
need to vote.
favour?
So there's no.
Okay. In public forum now. So who's person to?
Public forum would be
Amy Howes. I'd like to call on Amy Howes, please.
Amy's not here.
Yeah. And
we'll move on then.
I think he's here too. Is there anyone else who would like to present in public forum? I think like he, yeah, who might like to. Sorry, if you haven't been, you need to go and see them. Who these people are.
We just wanted to talk about the footpath and booking portal.
Oh, okay then. You just yes. Okay, just welcome and introduce yourself, please. Thank you. Just welcome to the table. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Is this to do with? Is this to just a public forum thing? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Waikari Reguru from Pukekoto. Just wanted to, thank the community board ideally for the money that's gone on. I know that you've been involved with footpath in Pukekoto. It's ticking along nicely. We just, there were some questions that Marae Niki had last night regards to the future of the footpath. Got a 90-year-old auntie who walks about daily down to her cousins, and she actually had a little accident the other week. The stones are really big, and we're just concerned and curious as to what's the forward movement in terms of what's happening with that area. I believe it is going to get concreted. That was one thing, but also there are some concerns too about the road being so close to the footpath, and with our tamariki walking to kura and stuff, whether there will be an erection of bollards or a fence or some safety, some separation between the road and things. So just wanting to, one, to thank for the money that's gone on there, and two, just queries from our kainga about what the future of the footpath. And just another kaupapa we're doing, we got agreement from Te Renanga o Te Rarawa to do some planting, and we've been running from Wānanga along the strip there where the boardwalk goes, and the footpath. So we're just trying to regenerate some of our green spaces around town. So moving into the planting season, we're going to start putting some mostly natives there. There might be the odd fruit tree as well, because it's about reconnecting our people to traditional kai sources, but also to other food that can be grown and how to get involved in that space and do, replicate it in your own home spaces if it's possible. So, we've got our Wānanga this Friday, planting seeds and gathering some of the seedlings that come up across the road here and in other places as well. It can be potted up and used in the river. With me.
Oh, thank you so much. Any questions?
Just wanted to say, Waikarere, I'd like to introduce you to Ian and Charlie, who are also regenerating native trees over in Rangitoto and Hihi. So maybe you can have a kōrero after and they might give you some of their plants.
You have to surrender yours.
Thank you. I'd like to call to the table now as Vicky Stevens, who's here to represent the Lake Ohia Hall. Is that right, Vicky? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just have to get a bit nervous. Thank you for inviting me along. I recently at a rural trust do and spoke probably a little bit too passionately about a hall, and then got invited to come along and just share with the community board how important the hall is and the journey that our local hall has been on. So several years ago, the Lake Ohia Community Hall had been declining in membership, and the council was looking at resources and I think pretty much it was on the verge of being closed. The people that had been running it had been older and passing on. And the committee was down to one person pretty much, which was Ivan Yelena, which a lot of you will know Ivan. I was fresh to the community and driving down the road and got flagged over pretty much and said, hey Vicky, I think we need to know what's going on down at the hall. And it looks like the hall's going to be closing. Do you want to get involved and find out what's going on? So I did. I offered to organise a meeting. And to be honest, I didn't really expect many people to come because the hall pretty much looked like the derelict building at the end of the road ever since I've moved to the area, and I hadn't really seen anything happening there. And I just kind of thought we were going to be closing the hall down, and I was really more worried about having a nicer at the end of the road than anything else. And then the night of the meeting, the whole community pretty much turned out. And said really a few people, probably about 3 people, who said, hey, not really interested in keeping the hall going unless there's a big community support for it. And everyone else was just like, this is our community, this is it. And I was really privileged to have quite a few conversations with Ivan actually about the history of the hall, how it had been donated, the land had been donated to the community by his school had been in the site, and once that school finished, the hall was then gifted back to the community, and then it was then passed on to the council to hold it for the Lake Ohia community. And Ivan told me about lots of get-togethers they've had over the years and how the people he'd met and as new people came to the community, how they'd been included in the community by attending the hall. And he said to me, without the hall and coming together of the people, is there actually a Lake Ohia community anymore? And that was his concern, that basically the hall wound up, the community would cease to exist and new people would go to Taipara, or we wouldn't have our own community. So the night of the meeting, it was decided that there were enough people who wanted to see the hall rejuvenated, and there was a real acceptance that we hadn't let go of the hall. Repairs had been done, but hadn't really been utilised, and the heart was starting to disappear. But everybody said, no, we're going to do this. So I said, okay, I'll organise a committee meeting. Happened to be in the middle of calving. I fell asleep after milking cows and forgot to turn up. And in my absence, I was apparently unanimously voted. It happens. I got told the next morning on the side of the road. And I've actually found that it's been an incredible experience. And I suppose I'm a bit of a I was probably being a bit of a pessimist at the time because I kind of thought all those people were going to disappear. You know, people were like, yeah, let's save it, but I don't want to do anything. And boy, was I wrong, because this community has just all those people that said, look, I can't be on the committee, but I want to be part of this and I will help wherever I can. 2 of them organised Christmas do's for the kids. Somebody else donated money to buy presents for the kids. Somebody else got volunteered to centre. Thank goodness that wasn't me. And we found that we're now having Christmas get-togethers. We've got Easter get-togethers. We've got Halloween discos. We're having, and all of these are different people. And every time we have one of these big get-togethers, we've had between 50 and 100 people turn up. Families, older generation, children running around. We're meeting people that we usually just drive past, and it's all because we've got this amazing little hall at the end of our road where people can come and come together and form a community. People have also done things like we've got electricians, plumbers, all sorts. So they're fixing the pump, they're fixing the lighting. They just turn up and get the job done. We've had working bees come together. We're raising money for the hall to make sure it continues. The hall is currently undergoing a earthquake proofing and ramp, wheelchair ramp going in, and hopefully some other improvements as well to keep it at a safe place. But we really just wanted to make sure that the council and the community board know how important this is actually to our community. We're creating it as a civil defence emergency spot for people to get together with our road often floods. And I've been in a situation where we've been affected our road and I can't actually get home. That yes, the floodwaters will go down, and thankfully we've got very friendly people up our road, and they often will grab the tractor and drive it through the floodwater. But having the hall there means that we've got somewhere we can go to be safe and wade up those floodwaters. Yeah, I'm just trying to think what else to share. We've now got regular users of the club. We haven't advertised it quite at all because it's undergoing. It's been quite a long process of getting repairs done. We've got a team leader, our council, from council, who's now moving things along a lot faster, which is great. But we've spent the last 3 years being told repairs are going to start in winter. They're going to start in summer, and so we've been reluctant to advertise. But even without word of mouth, we've gathered table tennis club, we've got the quilting club, we've got a cards group coming every week. We've got yoga has started up. We've homeschoolers attend regularly when it's raining as a place to come together. We have family groups looking out for games nights and farewells, and we have our get-togethers. We've had community members doing Asian cooking days, Asian fusion, where we come together, cook together, eat together, and just strengthening that real community feel. Yeah. So I'd just like to say that I don't know if halls are on the table today or in the future, but I just think it's really important that people know that these halls, they might not look like much, but they are really the throbbing heart of our community, and they're a place where we can come together and be a community. And without them, are we really a community? So thank you for your time, and thank you for your ongoing support for our hall.
Thank you, Vicky. We do have a report on our agenda today with regards to, and thank you for your sending in your information, your financials, etc. And so we'll later on in the agenda we'll be looking at that. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions for Vicky?
Through the chair, and thanks to the local film crew.
It was a great fundraiser. Yeah, the community, all the cleaning and thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call on Eric Wagner now, who would like to do a deputation on representing the Hohua Ratepayers Association. Thank you, Eric.
Chair,
The round black one.
Madam Chair and elected members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express an opinion on the failings of local government to act in matters of local interest. This is not a new issue. It has been around potentially, I feel, for as long as I have been interested in community matters. In the mid-1960s, I was introduced to the role ratepayers associations could play and should play in local government affairs. I was taken down by my uncle actually after dinner to a public meeting, and he put $10 on the table and he said, "You are now part of this community and you are to take part in the activities." And I've been there ever since. The fact is that attention taken of the general public's view has diminished as far as elected representatives are concerned, and certainly there's the wider public opinion that the Far North District Council management now has no or little respect for public view at all. Over the many years I've been involved in the Hohora Riding Settlers and Ratepayers Association, I've been party to submissions to many annual plans, to many long-term plans, and put many hours along with associates in drafting up public submissions and views on where the Far North should head, and in particular where development in our particular area of the Far North should be expedited. I'm looking back over just a short 15-year period of time, it has become quite clear that it has been almost a total waste of time conveying public wants and desires to a council with its own fixed agenda of where and how development should and would take place. In fact, since 1968, the Ratepayers Association has consistently, up to the present day, brought up the die for sewerage provisions for Pukenui, Te Kau and Te Hapua. We almost got there as far as Pukenui was concerned. I think that was in 2005 or something like that. However, the Far North District Council managers of the day were too slow in putting the proposal to central government for the then available health subsidy, and the subsidy was withdrawn. So the provision for sewage became too expensive and onerous, and the District Council decided it was unaffordable. This was only one example of incompetence. I'd like to make it quite clear that I'm not berating current elected members. It is my belief that they in turn are being held to ransom by management, just as I became to believe that I was when I was in a similar situation. In 2010, this association sent an open letter to the Far North District Council, the opening statement of which said, "The security of all residents relies upon employment, community wealth generation, and all sectors of the community working together with the realisation that ultimately their contribution, however insignificant they may see it, is ensuring that others are able in turn to make things happen." There still seems to be employees within the portals of the Far North District Council who somehow think they are immune or insulated from this reality and go out of their way to ensure that the simple is made as awkward as possible. So since then, what has changed? Unfortunately, not much. This association was asked a number of years ago to draw up its vision of where the area should and could develop into in 5, 10, 20 years and a long-term 30-year plan. As stated earlier, this took a group of local people around 6 weeks of intense work to prepare. They looked at reasonably complex situations and came up with solutions which were put before the public, debated and decided upon before presentation to the District Council. To the best of my knowledge, none of the significant points in this plan has been reflected in the Far North District Council supposedly driven long-term plan. One of those proposals was for a sports ground facilities to be provided where the local sports ground now fortunately is. A district council manager decided that the area was far too important and valuable a piece of land for a sports ground, and so the area was changed without public consultation to council land at the Heads Road. There was a large amount of money spent on that development at the Heads Road, which due to protests from people residing well outside the area, became totally wasted when the site was abandoned and has now become a wetland reserve. In a letter that I will put before you, there is another disturbing issue. In a newspaper article in the Northland Age, a spokesperson for the Far North District Council was discussing the lack of housing and accommodation for the people of the wider Kaikoura and outlying districts, stating that they did not know how to overcome the problem. Yet we currently have a proposed district plan before council with public submission being called for, which has made no provision for commercial or private development in our greater Pukenui area, even though it is recognised that it is growing rapidly and the need was clearly stated and shown in the previously mentioned long-term plans. So have suddenly the managers assumed the authority to dictate to us, the public, and ignore all the submissions we put forward to put their own spin on where we should be. Not only is this contrary to good governance, but if this plan goes through, it will mean that every application to subdivide and develop in an area such as Pukenui will cost an enormous amount of money. At the moment, it costs well over $30,000 to even start. Most of which will go to the planning department and it is money general residents do not have and should not have to even consider if sense prevails. At the moment, we are also in a rates discussion. Once again, I'm absolutely sure that the old management versus councillor game is being played, having been there. Management draw up their wish list, budget, and councillors and the public are asked to comment on what is affordable and what is not, with the inevitable haggle over a rate rise. In my opinion, as has been written in the press previously, the public and our representatives are being misled in the process. The process should be where the last 5 years or so of expenditure of each department is averaged out or carefully examined, and then the elected representatives either agree that that is a reasonable budget or ask management to cut that sum by whatever percentage they think appropriate, and then direct managers to either live within that sum or come up with a reasonable argument why they can't, rather than councillors spending hours trying to cut items. Remember, your fellow citizens have worked to build up assets to retire on, which you are in the process of stripping. Through the current district plan proposal, they cannot even subdivide to live on. What on earth is going on?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any questions?
And I just do want to make the point. I'm not berating these people around the table. I'm just saying the system is broke. It needs to be fixed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much.
I'm quite happy to
Yes,
table
please.
it.
Yep. If you'd like to just leave it, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I know you have the same problem.
So we're now coming to speakers. So Leslie Wallace, you are here to represent Ahipara Aroha and the Te Rarara Rugby Club. So you're speaking to both of the
Yes, I'll speak to both of them and get them done.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
everyone, thank you for having me today. So today I'm here not with my Sport Northland hat on, but with my volunteer hats on. Got a couple, and we're looking to ask the community for some funding of both of these applications. So I think the first one was Ahipara Aroha. So Ahipara Aroha is a community group based out of Ahipara. We formed a few years ago now to push forward our community plan. One of those things on our community plan is holding community events so that there's something there for everybody. And this year we are looking to hold our Matariki Ki Ahipara Festival again, so we're our third year. And we're looking to have that spread over 3 days of Matariki weekend with a full calendar of events that we hope that we've developed in association with the Ahipara Takiwa, which is our 3 marae out there,
our other community groups, Te Hiku Hauora, Te Runanga o Te Arawa, as well as our groups like our rugby club, our golf club, and other components of our community. If you'd have a look at the draft program, it's pretty full on, and we're using that program to try and meet those, the kaupapa of Matariki, which is about remembrance and about learning and about celebrating. So all of the components within our draft plan for that weekend all link to those kaupapa. So what we'd really like to do is ask the community board for support in funding some of those essential components that will help us get our festival over the line. So we're looking at things like venue hire, advertising, security. We do have a group out in our community that will help us with security, but when it comes to our big event on the Saturday night, we feel that because it's dark, because there is going to be entertainment, that we would really need to have some kind of professional security helping us out so that we're sort of covering ourselves in case anything happens. We're looking at equipment hire, basic stuff like pole lights and fancy looms. And we've also asked for support in hiring some bouncy castles to keep the kids entertained. And then a lot of the other stuff will be absorbed and done voluntarily through our group. So the amount we're asking for is $8,117, and that will help us with all of those. I just want to acknowledge John for declaring his conflict of interest, because one of the quotes in this application is for advertising through Opera. So the kaupapa of our event is around giving opportunities and celebrating within our community. So we have things like we have a dawn service, we have a couple of lovely speakers who are going to come and speak to Matariki, how to find the constellation, what that constellation means in terms of Mātauranga Māori. We also then have looking to get on some workshops so that people can have a learning experience from this weekend. So learning how to put down a hangi, which we will then use that in our service and our celebrations, and also as well as a way to feed all of the people who come to that. We have rongoa workshops that we're putting on, and then we're also having rongi workshops as well. So people can take away from this some learnings about what it was like and that culture and Mātauranga Māori and come away with something rather than just show up and have a good time on everything. We're also working with Te Runanga o Te Arawa around some tree planting, so that we're actually working towards making our spaces in Haupara beautiful, and they're going to come in there to the Korora Street Park and complete some planting after getting rid of some of those horrible trees, and they'll plant those with natives. And then we're also working with Te Hiku Hauora. They're going to come in and run kids programs for us so that there's activities for the children. We've got local artists that we will display their works throughout the weekend. And then on the Saturday, we have our hikoi up to the top of Whangatoatia, where we will have speakers up there. Once you've got all the way to the top, obviously it's a bit of a hike. There will be speakers up there that will speak to the amazing sights that you can see from the top, the stories behind all of that. And so again, you leave that space with more knowledge than what you had when you first started on your journey. So all of these components are part of a festival that, like I said, this is our third year, and we're just asking for support. Since I put this application in, we have been able to put in one other application to TPK in support of some funds to help with the entertainment component of our event on Saturday evening. So we're not double dipping, they're completely different separate applications, but at the time this was put in, we hadn't done that yet, and we weren't thinking of it until someone said, let's do this. So away we went. So that is my application. I really hope that the community board will be able to support it in any shape or form. Just to let you know, we will put it on no matter what, and we did this last year with no funding. We just would really like not to have to stress that out again like we did last year, but there will be something there to celebrate Matariki no matter what the outcome of this meeting is. We just hope that it'll be a lot easier than it was last year when we were really struggling, but we will put it on no matter what. So that is that application.
Is there any questions?
Any questions?
We certainly have a full-on program.
Yes, it is a very full-on program. We've actually reduced it down. It doesn't look like it, but we have reduced it down so that the only thing happening on the Sunday is our is church, basically, with whaiapare and to close off our weekend. So we've condensed it down to 2 days.
So is there any questions for Leslie? Thank you, Leslie. So on to the next one.
Okay, park that one. Next one up. Thank you. So I am the president of the Tarawa Rugby Club, and this application is to help us with a fencing project that we would like to complete. I think I've sent you lots of pictures and stuff in areas and things like that of what we want to do. So we used to have an old fence at the end of our number 1 field that became actually quite dangerous. The wires broke, the palings were broken. So we actually had to remove that. We removed it knowing we didn't have the funds to put up an existing fence and put that back up again, but it was to the point where it was actually worse being up than it was being down. So the plan that we've come up with is a way to replace that fence at the end, and that's around keeping the players and the supporters separated. It's part of the requirements of the Northern Rugby Union is to have an enclosed field. But what we also want to do is to make a safe walkway. At the moment, if you went out to the Apara domain where our rugby club is and you parked up on a Saturday to watch the rugby, you will see that every man and his dog walk through the car park to get to the club rooms or to get anywhere else. And when you've got cars parked there are kids running in and out and across, and it actually becomes quite dangerous. I have no idea how no one's been hit already. So what we want to do is create a walkway that will get you from one side of the rugby ground to the club rooms without having to go through the car park. And we're going to use the fence as the beginning part of that and create a safe green space to walk through, as well as tidy up the end of that field. The club there's a drain there that needs to be completed. The club will do that. We have, thanks to Bunnings' application that we got a funding grant for, there were some leftover funds from that. And they've given us an account at Bunnings for about $1,000, and we will use that to fix the drain in order to make that space safe. And we're just looking for help with the materials. We have a very active group of people in our rugby club who have access to lots of things like diggers and post-hole borers and a big array of labour. We have lots of builders and specialists within our club who are members who will volunteer their time. So we're really looking just for support with our materials to make that plan happen. That little fencing component of our plan is obviously just one part of the bigger plan to change the way people flow around our domain so that we can get them in and out safely. So it is the first stage of that. Just a note that our Te Raroa Rugby Club has put in a lease. It's a lease renewal that has actually finished its public consultation, and I think I'm coming to council to speak on that lease proposal in June meeting. And we're working in collaboration with the football club, and we're going to create a memorandum of understanding with them so that the lease will be for the whole of the rugby club, but they will basically have a memorandum of understanding to use their space for football, for soccer, and the rest of it is the rugby club space. So that's what we're looking at in that regard. And like I said, we're just hoping that we can get some support. If we don't, we will then, it'll be sausage sizzles and fundraising in order for us to get that completed. And if you do have a quick squiz at our financials, it does look like that we're very financial with $40,000 in the bank. But if you have a look at those, most of those are funding grants tagged for specific purposes. That's how rugby clubs live these days. They don't actually have an opportunity to make very much funds on their own. This year we have a 5 home game season for seniors because there's a reduction in the number of teams. So we're trying our hardest to multi-purpose our space out to the community in order to be financially stable. So hiring it out and to other community groups so that can be used. We've got the funding that's currently in there is things for specific purposes, like there's a $20,000 grant in there from Milford, and that was a Cyclone Gabrielle fund. That is to actually waterproof our building. because when that cyclone came through, we found leaks everywhere. So that fund is there to replace windows, replace flashings, fix holes in the roof. There's a lovely piece of our club that's sort of moved slightly. We're going to have to move that back together again to keep it sealed up. And then there's also the $10,000 from Silver Lake funding. That's the money that the New Zealand Rugby Union board got as part of their big sponsorship. And they said they were going to make sure that every grassroots club got some of that. We got $10,000 of that, which was wonderful. And we have tagged that towards our lighting program because we actually need new lights at Hiku Domain. The old ones are the bulb type ones that are going to blow up. We can't get the bulb replacements now. So we're working on training grounds that's half lit at the moment until we can get our funding application in. So that is our contribution to that. So like I said, it looks like we've got lots of money, but really we're working on about $10,000 budget for a year to run a rugby club, which is very interesting when our insurance premium came in this year at $20,000 to insure. So again, we've got a funding application and going to COGS. It's not going to cover it all. We're actually in the process of negotiating our insurance to bring that number down so that we can actually function. And similarly to the lovely lady who talked about Lake O'Hare Hall being the hub of their community, we don't have a hall in Ahipara. Our rugby club is our hall, basically. So we need to keep that alive and functioning, not just for the kids and our members, but for the wider community. So we're hoping that you can help us out in any way, shape or form with the first part of our project, which is just keeping our kids safe from the traffic and tidying up our fence line. So that is my second application. Any questions to that one?
So there is, Leslie, there's a new fence and an old fence that has to be.
Yes, the old fence has been removed. The old end of the fence at the end of the rugby club, that's already gone because it was dangerous. And there, if you've been out to Ahipara, you'll see a grey fence that surrounds the concrete. We're also looking to have that removed as well because we need to rebuild it in a way to funnel people through the right places. It's a way of making people don't come through the car park and through the kitchen door because that's what we want to avoid. We want you to come down the newly created green path, across the road and straight into the front of the building. So we have to actually get rid of the old fence, which is also rotting away, make a new fence to channel people where we want them to go, to keep them off the road, off the footpath.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Something totally related. Leslie, we getting any response with rugby for women this year?
Yes, so our Te Arawa Rugby Club has a women's rugby team. They played on the weekend against Horahora, and we also have an under 15, so we're catering our girls team, which we're catering for that. Our actually women's rugby team is very strong in regard to not just results on the table, obviously, but they're creating a very great, strong culture within our club, and we're very lucky to have them. Yeah. Anything else? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I really appreciate.
Thanks for your mahi.
Yeah.
Good. Love the funding application.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So now we'd like to. Adrian.
Christina, sorry, didn't get to see those on she's in hospital.
I'd like to call to the table, please, Adriana and Christina, who's representing Donna.
Sorry.
Do the whole thing here today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for getting us out. So we're putting in an application for vaccinations, flea and water treatments for cats and dogs in the community. Now, Donna sends her apologies, she couldn't be here, but she's sent me a letter that she'd like me to read out to you. Good morning. Thank you for considering our application. Please excuse my absence today as unfortunately I'm not very well and I have a specialist appointment today. Before you today, you have two of the most amazing people, the backbone of the doulas. Two people that mean the absolute world to me, and I couldn't do the doulas without them. With over 11,000 followers and 150,000 on average visitors to our page each week, we are very busy. Adriana, that's me, Our long-time administration volunteer has been with us for years, battling daily the huge volume of requests from the community requiring financial help for veterinary services. These include desexing, consultations for sick and injured animals, vaccinations and microchips. We also get food requests due to financial hardship, and this is becoming a real problem in the community. Parasite control, and this is the flea and worm treatments that we're asking for help with. Blankets, and we get requests to surrender animals every day. She is also responsible for our stringent adoption processes and choosing our animals the most amazing homes amongst many other tasks in a day. Adriana is often in liaison with Katrina, who you will see driving around in our very bright Doodles van, often with her family in tow. She delivers supplies to our community families. She collects animals, and taking the drive out to the vets down in Waipapa, where I work for veterinary procedures, collecting supplies, organising foster homes, juggling rescue puppies, whilst her husband is building enclosures for our foster families in the background. And
He
that's
also works full time as well, so he juggles that in between.
I really don't believe there is a day that goes by that Katrina is not out on the road helping in some way, and that's virtually every day.
Yeah, I'm leaving here to go drop off flea and worm tablets to a lady who's rescued a puppy, and I'm also going to pick up a puppy that was abandoned on Baker Street. I've already got 2 of those, and now we've got another one. So
It's a daily
job, Brian.
Yeah. The Doolins van does some serious mileage with huge transport costs each week, and wink, wink, she put that in. We need a bigger, more economical van to fit all the animals in. For this reason, both these lovely ladies know the importance of why we are asking today for financial help to provide vaccinations for the community animals and parasite control, as they are in the depth of the crisis of financial hardship and the effects it is having on the welfare of our animals. So we are proposing, we do this already, but we're also proposing for this year to have a lot of allocated community days where we will hire out a hall and we advertise and bring the community in so we can help them. The allocated days will be to provide the vaccinations. Now, for a puppy up to a year old, it needs a series of 3 vaccinations. So if that puppy comes in, we will vaccinate it, we will talk to these people, and we will set up the next days for them to provide the next 2 injections. If a dog comes in, it's a year or older, then that vaccination will last that dog for 3 years. So it's well worth just giving it the one shot. The biggest virus we are trying to treat is parvo. When the warm, wet, humid weather comes, it provides the perfect environment for it to shed. So now's the time to start vaccinating your animals before that happens. It's really important. The virus stays in the soil for 5+ years. So this week we had 2 puppies who passed away of the virus. Our concern is with these 2 puppies, it came from a litter of 8. Now, those other 6 puppies were already distributed into the environment, into the region. So we don't know where those puppies are. People won't tell us. So those puppies probably have that parvovirus. Now, they've taken that virus onto those 6 properties. Those puppies are likely to die. If you visit that property with your dog and your dog's not vaccinated, it could pick up the parvovirus. That dog's going to become very ill. If you don't get it to the vets in time, it will die a horrific death, most painful death, right up until their last breath. Not only that, they've taken the virus onto there. It exacerbates the problem, just spreads. So the vaccinations are just so important. So with cats, because we're going to vaccinate cats as well, the vaccination lasts for 1 year. We're primarily focusing on feline respiratory disease called calicivirus. And we see these coming into cats, especially stray kittens. We see it a lot. It's when all their eyes are glued shut and their nose is just, it's like a big thick mucousy thing. It blocks their nose, they can't breathe, their eyes are glued shut. If it's not treated in time, their eyes become ulcerated. The only thing you can do is remove their eyes. You have to operate and remove the eyes. This is a real problem because if it's both eyes and you remove both eyes, that cat is no longer adoptable. Nobody wants to adopt a blind cat. So it's just a horrible, horrible situation for the animal and it breaks our hearts. You can't even imagine it. Again, easily fixed with a single shot. The problem is that we have a cost of living crisis at the moment. People in this community can't even afford that. And so it's just so important that we can get out into the community and provide them with the care they need. Parasite control, that's flea and worm treatments, is really important as well. Now, these only last a month, but our community days give us the perfect environment and opportunity to educate people on why you need to flea and worm your animals. Many people have no idea that it's a monthly treatment.
Also for puppies, we have got, over the last 2 months, we've had about 10, 12 puppies in, and those that the worming has to be done every 2 weeks till they're 12 weeks old, because they're actually born with that parasite in them, and if you don't do it every 2 weeks till they're 12 weeks old, it doesn't break that cycle. Now, with the 2 that we've already got up at my house, there was worm poop everywhere. You would not believe. It is so horrible for these little puppies, and they're also vomiting them. Some can actually die from it. We had a day down.
1 minute to go, ladies.
Okay, we had a day down at the market where we were handing out food, and one of our fosterers actually donated a whole lot of worming tablets. So we were able to get a lot out into the community on that day.
Yeah. Also, with the fleas, it makes the animals scratch themselves. They get infections, they get mites, and that's another horrific situation. Our allocated days allow us to identify animals that aren't desexed or microchipped, and we can provide education on that and sort that out. We invested $92,000 in desexing, microchipping community and rescue animals in 2023. We did this through fundraising, donations and grant application. Our workload has tripled since the SPCA office closed down. We were advised this would not have an effect on us, but it couldn't be more far from the truth. We were given no extra support initially. So we have to keep outreaching to any avenue that we can to assist us with continuing to provide these services to our community, keep our animals safe from sickness, injury and suffering, and that is why we are here today.
Thank you. Is there any questions for these 2 ladies?
Sorry, just one question. You're probably not going to like it. We're not winning, are we?
No,
No, we're not.
And,
No,
and the
it's getting
problem,
worse.
the problem isn't the cats and the dogs.
No,
It's
the people.
Thank you.
I would rather deal with the animals than the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible.
Is Papa affected an adult dog?
Yes, any dog that's not vaccinated. Doesn't matter how, it can be from a 2-week-old puppy to a 14-year-old dog, makes no difference. If it's in the environment, so you get a dog with parvo and it poops on your property, it's in the soil. Another dog comes along, sniffs that spot, it's got parvo. And it stays in that spot for 5+ years.
Thank you.
And of course, if it goes in public, same problem. On a beach, on the sidewalk, it just spreads.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further questions? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, I had a question. Who's Donna Doolittle? I know Dr. Doolittle, the movie.
Donna, how do you pronounce her surname? I can't even remember. Phaedra. Yeah. So she's the head vet nurse. She works at Phoenix Animal Wellness Centre in Waipapa. And so she's the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life.
She's been just for 10 years. That's
Can I get John
up
up? John up as
She's a local. She's a born and bred Tyrant.
Yeah.
Can I buy a pill from the
Hormones and injection. It's a vaccination.
And it needs to be given by the vet because Donna's a registered vet nurse. She's able to do that. And so that's imperative to our community days because she's allowed to give those injections.
We can give out the tablets like the flea and worms, but we can't
do the injections. Yeah, we can't do that. But she's allowed to. She can do that because she's qualified. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. So we now go to 7 o'clock, which is the road renaming at 721-745 Rangiputa Road, Gadigadi Peninsula, on page 15. So I'll move this one. Do I have a second, please? Thank you. So it's up for discussion now. So
It's John.
is John going to sit up to talk about it? Because he's here. Yep. Right, who's second?
Sorry, the chair, he doesn't want to talk about it anyway.
Oh, okay. So you're.
He's just here just to see what happens.
Thank you, mate. So the recommendation here is the preferred choice is Kohanga Place. So you're happy?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any discussion around that?
Can I just ask, John, is that an old name?
Yes.
It is, yeah.
It was recommended by the committee. It's the area.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was our first choice.
So it's going to be Kohanga Place. So all in favour?
Aye.
We're done. Simple as that. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you for coming.
Cheers, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We will go back. Thank you. We're going to move on to 7.5, which is the Rangitoto Reserve. And that the Hiku Community Board received the report Rangitoto Reserves Act classification recommendation and recommend that the Council classify Rangitoto Reserve as a, reserve per the Reserves Act. So do I have a mover, please?
Oh.
Thank you. Seconder?
Yeah.
What do we have for the XXX?
Well, we have to decide whether it's going to be a historical. Would you like to talk to the application, please, Robin, before we?
Sure. Now, first of all, I'll talk about the Reserves Act process, but I'm also available if there's time if anyone wants to ask any questions about the Agricultural Reserve in general. But in terms of the Reserves Act process,
I've handed around a table which is the same as the one that was in the report, except it includes submitters' names. So unfortunately, we didn't get the wording right on the disclaimer in the consultation. So although names of submitters for Reserves Act processes are normally part of a public report, in this case we thought we'd just be cautious and not include them. But for the sake of your understanding, the issues names have been included in the table I've handed round. I'm sorry, it's rather small to read. So the question today, the Rangitoto Reserve was vested in council as a recreation reserve. There's intricacies around the wording of vesting, but essentially my understanding is it's held as a recreation reserve subject to confirmation or otherwise. Certainly both my understanding of the technical issues related to the site, also the information provided by Heritage New Zealand Taonga, is that it is appropriately vested as a historic reserve. It went out to consultation and you had the responses, and we're simply asking a decision whether it should be confirmed as a recreation reserve or classified as a historic reserve. Happy to answer any further questions.
The Chair, it would seem that a lot of the people who didn't agree with it changing to a historic reserve are concerned that it will not be available to the public or any recreation, things can take place on there. And when you read the classification of what a historic reserve is and what a recreational reserve is, it does, go into the fact that it's more for recreation and sporting activities. That's what it is at the moment, isn't it? And they're proposing that it is now, protecting and preserving and so forth. Will there be a massive impact on people being able to access that for purposes other than, you can see that why people are saying that they don't want to do that. And it seems to be the same reason through the whole thing. It's just because they're worried that they're not going to be able to have access to it or to.
So I can answer that question. Yes. So the Reserves Act provides a certain amount of protection, but the primary protection of the site is under, historic legislation. So I've forgotten the name, the heritage legislation. So no, it won't change anything because there are large numbers of things you can't do there anyway. I guess the thing with reserves is that they have primary purposes, and that's generally what relates to the classification, but there's also secondary and even, more purposes of a reserve. And it's certainly my understanding that the primary purpose in this case is heritage, and it is recreation is not, it doesn't mean you can't go there and have a picnic or whatever, but that is in this particular site, that's a secondary purpose, not a primary purpose.
One more question. Would changing it to a historic reserve speed up the works done on it? Will it speed up vegetation and management and all those things, or will it just put them in the same situation of waiting for action?
So council has responsibilities under the existing legislative framework that are not changed by this. And no, this won't allocate money, neither will a reserve management plan. So I think it's understood that we have responsibilities, but that we have not been keeping up to date with them, and that's primarily a funding issue.
And without getting into the complexities of it, I can put in a written plan that vegetation needs to be looked at, but unless there's funding, we can't get it done.
Thank you. There we've got Councillor Foy who'd like to ask you a question, please, Robin. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for not being in attendance today. It's probably best. I don't want to share my sickness, but can you hear me all? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to ask if, as the reserves planner, you've been asked to provide a list of the reserves for the Ngāti Kahu settlement, and if this is on that list and the timeframes around working to have mana whenua to own the reserve instead of council, given its historic significance. So that was one question. And the second question is relating to budgets. And I know that we've got over 700 reserves. And I'm not sure what the community board's view is, but the community feedback that I've heard from Doubtless Bay is that taipa is the key reserve from the community that they'd like to see investment in, and for families and hapu and our tamariki there at the school to use on a daily basis. How much is this whole process and your time costing instead of spending time on taipa, and what are the priorities of the board, taipa or this reserve?
Kia ora. So in terms of the treaty settlement issues, I have had discussions with Te Arawhiti over the last year or so in terms of the process, and actually Ian Palmer raised an interesting point that this was a site vested from Crown and wasn't on their list, and interestingly they said that that their property list is not necessarily 100% accurate, which surprised me because I just assumed that their property information would be quite a bit more accurate than ours. But certainly there will need to be discussions about a number of sites. My personal view is that it would be good if council looks at the entirety of the site. So where land is vested in council from the Crown, it's as if council is, or it has been the case that council has a say in what happens. So that could change, but that's the current process. And as a parks planner wanting to ensure that there's a good range of recreational assets available, it's certainly it would be my recommendation that that's considered on a citywide basis, and that we look at all those sites. But yeah, there's some quite big processes there. And I'm happy to elaborate on that further if needed, but in terms of funding, I guess the thing is that to meet our obligations to protect the heritage of this site, we do need to allocate funding, because large woody weeds, as they grow large and then fall over, actually have a really very bad effect on heritage sites. And Heritage New Zealand have made it clear that they see that this is a real priority for us, and that we need to look at actioning that. And I don't see that as a here or there. I think we have responsibilities both to protect our heritage and also to support the communities, the diverse communities around North District Council.
I just wanted to ask, Robin, please, these two are the only ones who are really doing any pest control. And for people to say they want to have access, well, it's really hard to get there. Really hard. It's not like you can just walk through or that anybody's being denied access, but because of the growth of vegetation, people aren't going to be, plus erosion. So I suppose I was, what are the difficulties in having the management plan? Is it because you have to consult with all these other departments?
So when I do a reserve management plan, often I can, I've been around a while. I've been a parks person for a long time. I can often go to a site and get a good understanding of what's happening there. I didn't have sufficient understanding of the site. There is little use. I had no idea of the values of the site. To me, the absolute necessity, it was absolutely necessary to get a cultural values assessment. I received the first cultural values assessment this last weekend. I understand there is another one coming soon. I have said that I'm happy to start on the reserve management plan, but you can't put a future for how to manage a site if you don't know what the values are, and I didn't have sufficient. It's well outside of my immediate understanding.
But what I can recall, the people doing all the kaitiaki work needed that management plan so that they could apply for external funding that doesn't come from the council. I know when this came up, this was the big horror story. Oh, money. But the plan would enable them to be able to conduct this pest management control, which the council doesn't really have resources or whatever to commit to. So that was what I thought when I heard it the first time last year, was that was going to be the value of having that plan so they can access funds externally.
So certainly it doesn't require a reserve management plan to do weed removal. What it does, but a reserve management plan is needed to do more transformative things, or to get to know that you have a community mandate to continue with more transformative things that might include areas of vegetation and so on.
Could I ask if maybe these two gentlemen could ask you some questions, because they are so passionate about this and they've been on it for years and years. It might be better for them to ask you than
I'm sure Robin's been in touch with these people. Yeah.
Through the chair, thank you. To build this question, I think it is very true that some of the organisations were approached about potentially helping to provide resources to address the issues. As I said, we can't, like 1 Billion Trees organisation some years ago, we're not going to provide you funding to do an intervention on this whenua, unless you can show that it's consistent with a management plan with all key stakeholders, particularly mana whenua and Heritage New Zealand bought into it. So the management plan is very important to be able to apply for and get funding to do actual interventions. But also, as Robin says, that the absence of the management plan doesn't stop the council applying some of its resources and using contractors to address some of the obvious immediate problems.
They seem to have begun that process, but that seems to stop. So there's two things that the council could conceivably do, is to, before there's a management plan, allocate some council resources to cutting down some of the big wattle trees that are falling down and damaging the earthworks. One. Number two, we need a management plan that has a structure that's formally endorsed by the council to say, these are the issues, these are the values, this is the areas that should be grazed and kept short of grass so you can see the earthworks. These are the areas that should be fenced off and replanted with native trees. So we need the structure of a management plan that is endorsed by the council to have those bullet points in it. Once the structure and the key important steps are established, then we can collectively go forwards and say, how are we going to fence off this area? How are we going to replant this area? How are we going to do weed control on this area? But that needs to be after we in the structure, or within the structure of the management plan.
Like we need to legitimise the activities that we've been undertaking, which we don't have any formal approval. But equally, we'd say the council doesn't have this management plan which legally they should have in place to control what we can't do. It's on the crystal of recreation, but heritage. I'm fully supportive of council, looking after and promoting sites for recreation. But this site is, since we've been there, and no one comes there to recreate on it, to play sport on it. But not just because of the activism, it's really not suitable for that. And certainly I know one of them, my fellow group, one we're close to, they don't want people trenching over, what's a fairly sensitive site, people died there in battles in the 19th century. So
yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that. We just need to.
Because it's vested in council, my understanding is under the Waitangi Tribunal process, it's regarded as private land, but the tribunal cannot make recommendations to return this to Māori unless the council.
We have to stop this conversation. I'm sorry. It's actually for elected members only to actually ask questions of council staff. But we just let that go a little bit for a moment, but we need to bring it back into the...
One final one. What's the timeline?
Okay, well, are we talking about the weed removal or the reserve management plan?
Both.
It's not going to be complete this year. I'm very much hoping it would be complete next year. So we need another cultural values assessment in, but I'm working on it as of this week. I probably need to touch base with other people in the community. A plan is written, it goes out for consultation, and then it's amended and approved.
Thank you.
And what about the vegetation?
There is a quote that's been received. Victoria gave you an update. It's unfunded at this time. Victoria's looking at other ways of funding it, but it's certainly a fairly large bill because it's a catch-up of years of.
Thank you. So any further questions for Robin?
Yeah, I had questions online, Madam Chair, but I wasn't responded to.
Oh, sorry, we were just getting to you. Oh, please go ahead. Felicity's question was about costs.
Yeah, thank you. It was just for the staff because the question about the costs haven't been answered, and with 700 reserves, if we looked at all of the reserves, in particular in the Doubtless Bay area, I compared Taipa, for example, to this reserve, what the actual cost would be so that as a board we can determine if this reserve is a priority or if the Taipa reserve is a priority for funding. And while I respect staff's views that all the reserves are a priority, we have to set budgets, and that's a responsibility of elected members, not for staff. And that's why we need to know this information. So if the staff can please answer the question about how much vegetation clearance is anticipated to cost, how much this management plan process is anticipated to cost, and how much staff time has been spent on this, so that as a board we can be informed if this reserve is the most important reserve in all of Doubtless Bay, or if Taipa is, or in the greater Hiku area, if this is the number one project for our board.
Okay, I'll do my best to answer that question. So in terms of the reserve management plans, we will be doing a reserve management plan for each ward, which will pick up a lot of those smaller wards. We do have some issues with property records, and I have been spending a bit of time in the background working on that, and there's a bit of toing and froing with LINs at the moment, but essentially we weren't maintaining our property records, which
makes it a little bit hard to, say this is our reserve and this is where we got it from and things. So the reserve management plan budgets, I'm not sure what's being allocated, but probably the expenditure on the reserve management plans, other than my time this year's probably been about it's probably been less than 10. It's 10 to 20,000 on each one, which can cover various things, including advertising and consultation processes and so on, and associated activities. My time on this is the Parks and Reserves Planner. This is a core part of my job, so it's what I'm meant to be doing. And I guess it's just been balancing, trying to address some of these local issues, which we were doing through one site in each ward chosen by the community board, and then doing background things that will enable us to do 3 ward-wide reserve management plans that will pick up almost all the reserves. So historic reserves are kept out of that because they can be complicated. Sports reserves are done separately because they can be complicated and, often there can be competing or just complicated methods of using sites. So this is set out in the parks policy that there are some reserves we do individual reserve management plans for, but most of the reserves will be picked up on the 3 ward reserve management plans. And that's going to have to be, I think our property records will be well above 90% accurate to do that, but almost certainly there'll be some sites we leave out of the first draft of those reserve management plans because property research can either be quite easy and relatively cheap, or else it can be complicated, well above my ability to understand, and it can require a specialist report. So, for example, at Rangitoto and Rawene, we had specialist reports to assist the process. So I hope I'll answer that. I may have left some things out.
It was just the cost of the vegetation removal, because I know that Heritage New Zealand wanted to do that, but I'm not sure if they'd given any budget, given their mandate for the protection of heritage under the Act. So, if that's a priority for them, it'd be interesting to hear what budget they've given.
Heritage New Zealand don't have budgets. I guess in an ideal council world, and I'm not sure it exists anywhere, we would know all of the things we have to do on our parks to keep up with our legislative and governance requirements, and we would have those funded. The reality is that there's always a little bit of unknown and a bit of unfunded, and so those are picked up by the catch-up budgets. But certainly, in relation to that, certainly my recommendation would be that this is an important, vegetation removal is important for us, for council to meet its governance and legislative requirements.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Foy?
Is it $1 million to clear the vegetation? Is it 500,000? Is it 100,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 1,000?
I believe it's between 10 and 20,000, but I'm not up to date with the latest quote, but it's certainly sizable.
Okay, thank you. So, Member Pelkey, you wanted to?
Yeah, I just excuse my naivety, and all of this is part of learning, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions. But from a Parks and Reserves or a historic place perspective, isn't the council obliged to clear? Surely we have, rather than priority of parks, but aren't we just legally obliged to clear vegetation? There must be some basic requirements that as a council we have to do regardless of whether we have the money to do it or not? Like, are we not obliged legally to clear vegetation or stuff? Or no, we can just leave it to...
We are obliged to remove noxious weeds. In this particular case, we are obliged to stop the deterioration of a really important and protected heritage site. I guess the thing is that so what can happen is you get a tall wattle growing, and if there's a wind throw, then it picks up the root ball of dirt, and that is immediately damage to the site. So when that happens, that is neglect that is resulting in damage to the site. I mean, ideally we have all the wattle cut down before that happens.
Thank you. So no further questions from board members? So you've got all the information in front of you. There was, looks like 3. Okay. So just confirming that an action point will be raised and sent to North Victoria's team, your team, for an update. Thank you. Thank you. That was moved by Bill and seconded by Darren. We have to put. Is everyone happy for this reserve to be historic?
Yeah.
Yes. All in favour?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Should we break now for a break? Thank you, Councillor Foy. Thank you, live team. Will, could we, we're going to adjourn for a short time. What time would you like to come back? Yeah, say 22. So we'll have a 10-minute break. 10-minute break. Could we stop?
Yeah, we need to
Yes.
settle down.
If we could stop live. Yes. Thank you. Yes, you do. of previous minutes, please. I shall move them.
Darren, second.
Darren, second. Any discussion out of the confirmation of minutes? All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. On to 7.1, which is the Hiku Statement of Community Board Fund Account as at the 31st of March. Have a mover, please.
Trying to move it. Bill, second.
Thank you. This won't include the April meeting, so. Any discussion? All in favour? Thank you. We're on to the 7.2, which is the funding applications. Or do we separately?
Certainly, yes. And I have it noted that John will be abstaining from the first one. Is that right?
Yes, I'm allowed to speak to that. Is that correct? Without voting?
Yes, that's correct.
So the first one is the Ahi Power Aroha Inc. application.
I was interested to talk to, I went outside to talk to Leslie because I was horrified that they were having to pay half of the funding is for orange cones. You know, where's it all going to go when these people they're not even making, they're not making money out of this event, and it's $4,000 to T8 traffic management. And I didn't want to bring it up while everyone was here, and I went to talk to Leslie, and unfortunately last year the event was obviously on council land at the domain. Now it's at the rugby club, and they're sort of too scared not to do it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so not too scared not to do it, they just find they have to do it. But I'm just bringing it up because it's a massive chunk of their application.
Yes.
And it's a 2-day event. I'm not saying it's not important or whatever. I was just just a cost that they can't afford.
The cost of that, like you spoke to Leslie and I didn't realise. Yeah, I saw that. But so the safety cones are going to be on council land and not on the road to direct?
Oh, no, they'll be on the road, I suppose. I'm just thinking how many, how it's obviously required, but I'm just absolutely gobsmacked that it's half of what they have to apply for. There's just so much money put into it.
Just through the chair, we're coming up against that now. Obviously, over these years, we've got away with the with the only day, et cetera, et cetera. But sooner or later now, we know that's coming, and we knew that expense is there, and it's huge. We'll be moving to the park, very similar to this council land, and we're bound by having a traffic management control process. So this is highlighting the facts what we're up against.
It's a shame that ratepayers' money, being our funding and everything, is going into that type of bureaucracy. When we could be building decks or putting shade sails over play huts, and do you know what I mean?
Something more.
Something that's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. Hatariki is important as well.
Oh, I support their.
It's a very good event.
I support their event 100%. I'm just bringing that up as a. I'm not even voting, but I'm just bringing it up.
But it's one of those situations, damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Oh, 100%.
Something happens to a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when
That's
you
your
look at
event
that quote of $4,000 for the traffic thing, that's over days. You know, like different events, different parts of the road closed, different parts of thing, hiring of light towers. And, you know, there's a lot of money, but if you think about the people involved with doing that, and they all have to pay. It is what it is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You start a president, you know, and anyway, sorry, I'm a little bit off track there, guys, but who's moving?
One for recommending 5,000.
Well, they applied for a lot more.
Yeah.
That is just a recommendation. Because it's a 3-day event.
I'm actually fine with the date. Just
move it then.
Yeah, I moved the 8117.
Darren, second it.
I'm very happy with that too, you know, especially when 4,000 of it is going towards something that's really only going to benefit the motorists.
And it's not just for Ahipara. So many people from Kaitaia will go to that. I went to it last year.
And that walk's getting more and more popular, the one up the hill.
Yeah. Especially with I think what they've done this year, which I think is really, really awesome and worth money to, is it's lots of learning. So you walk up the hill, you don't just stand there and look out, but there's like, you know, what are you looking at? What does it mean? You know, all that sort of stuff is really, you know, interesting, and lots of learning events as well, which is really cool for kids.
Since COVID, a lot of events have died off, so it's really encouraging to see other events sprouting up and taking their place.
Yeah.
Because more people like going to them.
And covering from little ones to oldies and everyone in between.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah,
it's
I'm in favour. I'm in
It's
favour.
$8,117. Yeah. Moved by Rachel. Yeah. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. So the next one is, where are we at? Doolittle. There's Donna Doolittle Animal Rescue.
Madam Chair, in Kaitaia, we've got a problem, a huge problem. I'm going to move 6638.
I second it.
Okay, the reason being we need, okay, that's fine, but we do still need that project report.
Yeah.
And that has to be from the previous application that hasn't been supplied. And I believe that
through the chair, she did say that when she got the building consent, she had to provide the project report. That's great. It never got sent through to us, so I don't know where that is. It's about a year ago that she did that. So I have asked her to resend it through. So what you could do is pass a resolution granting it subject to
that's what I was
the project report being received before it's released. Yeah, and then I can bring that to the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So subject to project report. I'm happy with that. I don't know whether anyone else is, but we have to have people that are accountable for what. Because
Can I just double check that was moved by the Bainbridge and seconded by? Thank you.
And subject to the
project report being received prior to funding being released.
Yeah.
I'm in favour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. The next one is the Te Rārara Rugby Club. Now, I'm a little bit, so it was been asked to left to lie on the table. However, has anyone found out what the depreciation will?
They haven't been able to give me an answer yet because they're in the middle of doing LTC hearings and getting ready for that. So I would like to bring this back to the next meeting, if I may.
because there may actually be council funding. You may not have to fund this.
Fund all of that.
So through the chair, is this something that we'll know reasonably quickly?
Well, I've got to do the report this week, so yes.
Right.
They should have everything pretty much finalised by now because they've done the hearings, so the final budget should be done. So I should be able to get an answer. And if not, then I'll just bring it back and say this is outside of budget. If you choose to fund it, it's your decision.
Because part of it's a new one completely as well.
It's ripping out our fence and
yeah. And that's what's kind of confused me.
Yeah, they've ripped out part of them all. But they need to rip out more fence and then build new fence to get the pathway.
So I'll move that it be left to lie on the table until we get those, because we don't know how much to put towards it at this point until we get those costs.
I've read it in the chat, but I don't know if you can see the chat. I was just bringing up a point of order regarding that. And it was just that we can vote on the current tabled item, and then in the resolution, if there is depreciation money, the staff can use that instead of the funding that we vote on today. So then the applicant doesn't have to wait a whole month or a whole 6 weeks until they get resolution to this if there isn't any depreciation funding.
So long as our decision doesn't change the decision of whoever's
exactly
making finding the depreciation.
Because that could quite well come into it, and I'd rather, it's only 1 month away, and I would really, then read.
But depreciation isn't subjective. Either there's an asset or there's not an asset, and so, I don't know. There shouldn't be a staff decision. It's just a factual.
It was partly to do with the lease, because when I asked, the lease hadn't gone up anywhere and they were still determining terms. So that was partly why we were just trying to work out who was going to be responsible for what. And I wasn't able to be told that at the time, but it sounds like they've moved past that now.
Until Rocco's hand is raised, team. If through you, the chair, you are happy for Michelle maybe to share some more detail, Adele?
Is Michelle there?
Yeah, she is online.
Okay. Michelle, would you like to just share some details, please, with regards to the lease and perhaps the fence, maybe?
Yes, of course. So it's through the chair. The lease for Te Rarawa Rugby Club has just finished public consultation. So the plan is for the next meeting, so the June meeting, you should be getting some deputations. So far, everything is in support, and I plan on bringing the report back to you in July. So you would then decide whether you want to proceed with recommending to council on the granting of a new lease for them.
Madam Chair, I move that the application is left to lie on the table.
Just trying to share my correct screen.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So if you can please bring it back to me with all the information, please, that we need to make a decision.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Good, thank you. So all in favour? Sorry, that was moved by Cheryl and seconded by Bill. Thank you.
You extended your screen, don't want to see.
You said all in favour, didn't we? Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Right, moving on now to project reports. It's on page 46. I'll move this one. As the Hiku Community Board note, the project report received from Graham Dingle Foundation. Do I have a seconder, please?
Darren.
Thank you. Is it maybe some good work? Makes us discussions. We'll read the report. All in favour? Okay. Up to 8.1, which is on page 62.
Chair, when are we expecting a hall strategy?
So I'll move this one. Do I have a seconder, please? Okay, so now we can discuss it. The hall strategy, good question. There is one already done, which is through the
chair, we've got a meeting with Lizzie after our community board.
And they're going to talk about, okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, did we get additional information that was requested regarding depreciation and so on?
No.
No.
I believe it is to be a workshop on depreciation as a whole. That's just in the pipeline coming up very shortly. And what is the timeline, do you know?
I'll have to go through my emails and check that and get that to the board before we close it today.
Thank you. So in this report on this one, yeah.
Can I speak about that one? Because I sent the email a week in advance, and it wasn't just depreciation. It was operational costs, so the insurance that council pays, the power that council pays, repairs and maintenance, and any scheduled works in the long-term plan. Yeah, basically all the costs that we have to own and operate the hall that ratepayers pay out of the ward rate. And it just seemed that the email was ignored totally. Or is there a response from staff?
Through the chair, I have been looking to get some information from finance on the back of the LTP, so that's something I'm personally going to get for that information.
Thank you, Bev.
And I see this morning that Councillor Boyce has got over the to the mayor for that information as well.
Michelle is available to talk again to us on this. Thank you, Michelle.
So we've got Awanui is missing out of this report. It's not even on our list.
Michelle, are you able to talk to us at all?
Yes, sorry, I was just unmuting my thing. I just wanted to go back to Councillor Foy's email, and I did provide a response to that. I don't think it came straight to you though, but so the committees are responsible for all the operational expenditure, including all water, pan charges, power, phone, and cleaning. They're also responsible for all internal maintenance, refurbishments, and purchase of replacement equipment, but they are not responsible for building renewals. And all the information that has been requested is part of a larger piece of work that, as a staff, we are currently working on. And when it's finalised, this will be presented to each community board. So we are working on it. We don't have all the information, but it will be coming at some point.
Be good to have a timeline on that, Michelle, please, if you can. Is it going to be June, July?
I can't confirm that at this time, but I can try and find out for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to raise that it's really important to have before the long-term plan so that we can make decisions. But also in regard to the report given, it was really good that the information about who owns the building and who owns the land was given. That's never been given to us before. So a timeline like our chair's asked for the other information would be really helpful so that future boards are able to know how much has been paid out of the ward rate for each of these buildings, you know, and how much depreciation, etc. So there's a really granular level so that we can make financial decisions, because currently we can't, because we're not getting given the information from staff. Thank you.
Is that something that you would want yearly? So this report that I've put together for the community halls, this is my first time doing this report. I believe it used to be brought in the previous years, but this is my first time doing it. So one of my reasons for coming here is I want to know what else you want in this report that I could present to you on a yearly basis. So this report purely contains information that the halls committees have provided us. That is a requirement for them as per the halls community halls policy and the community halls what's the other one? Sorry, the strategy that they have to provide to us on a yearly basis. But if you do want any other information, and if I can provide it to you, I'm more than happy to include it.
Thank you. So is there any other discussion on, we heard Vicky this morning talking about the LACO here.
Through the chair, you mentioned that Aoni was excluded.
Yes, well, there's Awanui on here.
Michelle, could you talk to where the report from Awanui, whether you received one from them or not?
We didn't receive one from them, sorry.
Okay.
But it's been missed out of on page.
It has. I can follow that up again and see if I can gather that information and bring it to you for our next meeting if you'd like.
Yes, because I think it's on council-owned land. It should come under that category, I would imagine. Is that right?
Yep. And through the chair, is Wharapipi involved in any way? Wharapipi Community Centre?
It's all
stood on this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Community-owned facility on council-owned land.
Yeah.
It's in the report, yeah. Is there any further discussion? I'm not sure if you can move it seconder on that one. Just yet. On what? We have a move on the seconder ones. We have to move. We moved it, didn't we? I don't think we moved the project funding reports, but I don't have a move or second for the community hall information. Who would like to move? I thought we moved it and then we went on to discuss it. Yeah, we did. Okay, that's fine. I'll catch up on that. So you've got to move in a second? I'll find it when I review the meeting. Because she'll ask the question first and then decide if I can go on. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you did.
And then we told her.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think I moved it and Rachel. Thank you. That's how it went. So all in favour? Thank you. And now we're on to 8.2, which is the Te Hiku Community Board May 2024 Open Resolution Report. I have a mover, please.
No. Taryn, second.
Okay. Now, within this report, everything needs to stay on here until we've does anything need to be removed or added?
Just aroha mai, one about the Hoke Koto Pā. How do you follow up on that? Who does that? Is that you do? It's the one who's first goes.
Oh, you mean Wakaria?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't do anything about that until we get the funding. I mean, it's part of the work that's obviously been done, some of the work out there, but when it comes to putting it happen, I'm not sure.
I was just worried about some of the things she was saying because I was concerned about Audi. It does look like, what's that happening in Audi? Are they redoing the footpath? Because if the footpath is just a right, like a continuation of the road, there's no, sort of curbside so that people aren't driving properly, they just hit the kids. I'm looking, so,
What is the Awanui one? Is it a renewal?
I wouldn't have a clue. It looks like a renewal at this stage, but that just, it just sprung up out of the blue.
But it's all new, a lot of it's actually new ground.
Yeah. And we were trying to get, sorry.
It is State Highway 1, though.
The other one is, exactly, the other one is what we were trying to do was complete the footpath from there, the Joneses, to the school.
Let me chase it.
But the queries that Waikarere was raising was safety issues, like if the footpath and the road are on the same level, how do you protect the kids walking on that or elderly or whatever?
Yeah, because she was also asking, is the work going to stay as it is, or is there more to be done? Like, is there going to be a different paving going on the top of the big stones, or is that just how it is now, or those are the questions?
Yeah.
So, Councillor Boy wants to say the same.
So what we do have is our footpath program for the next 3 years. What's our priorities for the footpath program? Is Puki Poto the number one now for the budget? That's something we have that we did with Elizabeth Stacey.
Millbay Road's a person.
Yeah, but what year was that for? I think that's important to have in our resolutions. And
through the chair, when was the work done on the Pukekohe one? That was, it's been done for quite some time. Is it something that hasn't been finished properly?
No, it's just part of the road that was put in drainage. It's the road roading budget. Is that correct, Councillor Boy? That's done that work.
Elizabeth Stacey did the culverts with the low cost, low risk budget, and then I know that Pukekohe is in the matrix for the footpath works, and it's at the top, but I don't know what the amount was.
Number 3.
Okay, number 3. So I don't know how much the Millbay one is and the next one is before number 3 and what the budgets are from previous years and the next 3 years going forward. So I think that's important to find out maybe from Elizabeth Stacey based on the current budgets in the long-term plan. I think is it 160,000 a year? Is that the amount? Yeah.
Approximately.
So maybe Bev can follow that up with Elizabeth Stacey for us.
So, Madam Chair, what is happening at Awanui?
I'm sorry, I'm not able to help you there.
That's no, I haven't got a clue.
No, is it on our list?
No, it wasn't on our list.
The only bit on our list was that.
It can only be NTA. Yeah, just around the corner. Yeah.
That's NZDA.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
So
NTA
what's happening at from the bridge to the...
Yeah, from the Jones's Rise by the looks of it.
Yeah, so that's been all pulled up and I haven't heard about it either. But what we have asked the NTA, Kushla is the asset manager, is to provide us a list of the renewals. And even in the last transport meeting that our chair Adele was present at also, that was requested and we were told that we would get the list and yet we still had not been given the list of the renewals. So That's another question to the NTA, to the asset manager about the schedule of renewals for footpaths, please, to Bev.
Well, in that case, was it a necessary one, or is it like the back of Pack and Save where they did a renewal that wasn't necessary at all?
Through the chair, while you're there, Felicity, I thought the priority there would have been from the Joneses to the school, basically, because that one was just gravel and they'd even dug places up and people were tripping over it because of the lack of light too. So for them to replace the one that was there, it just seems crazy. But having said that, we'll take it. We'll carry on.
But I think, the local knowledge is really relevant, and that was our point to the NTA. And
Right.
the manager of the NTA, Calvin, said that the asset manager will give us a list of renewals, and reiterated that just one meeting ago, only a couple of weeks ago, that would happen, and it still has not happened. So unfortunately, I think yet again, we're not being getting given information. We've been promised information, and we don't want it to result in poor outcomes for our community, because local knowledge is valuable and we could help if only we were given the information in advance, which we're not.
Totally correct, Felicity. Sorry.
We asked for that after they started renewing behind the Pack and Save. What's the name of that road? That was a couple of years ago. They renewed that, it didn't need it, and we didn't know about it.
Yeah, I think I'd quite like to have a list of renewals each year, what they're going to do, and then we can actually decide which comes first and whether it needs to be renewed or not. So,
yeah, through the chair, I think we met at meeting in Koikoi, where I can't remember which staff member it was, but they said there's a lot that comes with the renewals. And is that something that wants the community board to be part of, because there's a lot of work with it. But I think the footpaths is is quite simple, where if we get a highlight, look, this is getting renewed, Bill could have walked down there, had a look and said, okay, we don't want to renew that part. We want to actually continue it onto the school, which is reasonably logical. But yeah, I do recall in someone's defence, I'm not sure who, but the delegations of the community boards, and there's a lot more to having the renewals as a delegation. But I mean, footpaths alone can be, how many would they do a year?
I think a lot more money spent on renewals per year than us creating new footpaths.
Yeah, and if we could utilise that in other places.
Anyway, yeah.
No, I agree. We need to know.
Exactly.
Can that be a note, please?
Maybe just feedback to Fleur and to our staff. Usually at each community board meeting, we usually have questions about footpaths, and Elizabeth Stacey previously has come to our board, and is someone able to ring her to come and answer these questions now, or while we're still in the meeting, or is it able to be organised in advance so she can attend? Because
through the chair, we're requesting Elizabeth join the call now.
Oh, thank you, Ngā mihi nui.
Through the chair, we've had no response from Elizabeth. If you'd like to continue your discussion on maybe perhaps another item, I'll work in the background to give Elizabeth Stacey a call.
Oh, thank you so much, Marlena. That's appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Marlena, Colin. So then we've moved and seconded that. Did you want to, is there any further discussion on this report? The only other thing is we've left to line the table is a Whaiwhenua boardwalk. So
I've been chasing Chris for any response on this. I don't know my feedback, and I've sent him through all of the information he requested, but I probably I just wanted to say.
So all in favour? All right, thank you. So now up to item 8.3, Chairperson and Members' Reports. And reports from Chairperson Adele Gardner, members Darren Axe, Rachel Balke and John Stewart. Do I have a mover, please?
Darren. I'll second.
Just please take mine as read. I just want to give you an update on the Hiku Sports Club opening. It's going to be on the 5th of June. It's a Wednesday. We're all invited. We're invited to the opening. So it's going to be the Te Hiku, the Kaitai Town Square First, which is going to be very early. I'll just have to find
sunrise.
I'll find the time for you. Just a moment.
Awesome.
It's going to be
5:30.
At 5:30. Yes. So you need to be there very early.
Yeah.
And then at the sports hub at 6:30. Well, the hub one will be 7 o'clock, but it'll, yeah. Just letting you all know, you're invited to both openings. It's quite exciting for our town.
Come in my swimming pools.
5:30.
7.
No, it suits.
Oh, and in the town square if you want to.
Any questions from anyone about my report? I had a further meeting at Taipa last week around the cultural aspect of the placemaking. Trudy Allen called the meeting, so I just went along to that and we spoke about their vision. Do you have any further questions from my report? We'll go to Darren X.
Just take mine as read this time round. It's just really a record of what I've done. There was not nothing to talk about there. Take it as read, thanks.
Thank you. Balke.
You can take mine as read. We're hoping that we can have a meeting with Jason and final holdings maybe next meeting. I think we were going to follow up and see if we could have a little put it all with him around the future town plan and what we see as priorities. So we'll see about that. And the rubbish bin, they have actually got a rubbish bin at the end of the road now, and everyone's just chucking their rubbish in it willy-nilly. So it hasn't solved the problem because it's just open. There's no lid on it. There's no lock. So it's just like, woo, awesome. So I am going to get back in contact with Simon and say, thanks for the cage. It's awesome. However, because it's got no lid or anything on it, it's just a big open cage. It's tidy, but it's just full of whatever. So maybe that system's not fantastic. Yeah, that's all. That's it for me. Oh, there's more over the other page. Very good.
Sorry. not a lot to speak about. I think I might have sent Cheryl. Did I send you that quote on the? Oh, I will do. It's a lot like the letters for that Love Taupo thing. I'll have to look into it, but it was a heck of a lot cheaper than the big ones. You know, the real big ones. I got a price from those people that built it, thanks to Cheryl, who found them online. But there's a lot of engineering that goes behind that as well. They just making the frame of the letter. We were thinking of, I don't know, if possible, being able to do something similar in some of our towns at some stage. The other thing I was going to ask is, Cheryl, you did a lovely summary of our meeting, which was for media. Yeah, you sent it. Dale sent it on to me because I couldn't find it. And is that possible more often?
Well, where does it go?
Well, that's the problem. But I used it at my KBA meeting, and it was much easier than trying to follow our minutes and trying to remember everything.
I find it very disappointing that it was sent to the Northland Age, who totally.
Yeah.
And so as a result, the people that read the Northland Age don't know what the community board does apart from allocating funding.
I just thought it was a perfect little summary to share, but I don't want to sort of throw another job at you either, because I wouldn't have been able to.
People have put all the time in the world.
Well, yeah.
I often take notes, like, at our meetings of highlights,
Oh, there you go.
So that each time I just will type little highlights of,
Yeah, I just found it very handy being at the KBA meetings and being able to report on community board, because our minutes are, you're sort of trying to follow. Apart from that, nothing else from me. Thank you.
So one of the questions from me, John, is I love this Taupo sign. It's fantastic, and I've seen it myself. You suggested that it could be a use for Pukenui. Have you consulted with the community?
Oh, no. We're just trying to find out what it was going to cost for starters.
Okay, and then
because the Wellington one was like $100,000. Well, that's not going to happen.
No.
So I'm trying to find alternatives. So when I went down there, I had a look at this one. I thought, geez, that can't cost that much. So when I put it all together for you, then we can say, hey, is this achievable? Then we can go to the community and say, is this what you want? Yeah. Oh, and just quickly too, through the chair, obviously the community board conference this year is bundled in with the LGNZ conference, and I see there was invites going out to the board. I'm there, and it'll be through the CBEC.
Yeah.
So it's not it's a separate. They pay for it, obviously. LGNZ. But love to see as many community board members that want to come down there.
Who's put their hands up? I have.
23rd, the week of the 23rd of August, is it?
I think it's 21st, yes, isn't it?
Yeah. So, one of the reasons around bringing it into with the LGNZ conference and into a central location was hopefully that more community board members could make it less expensive for the councils to send. The last one was in Gore.
Yeah.
And it's just so much harder to get to. So this one's in Wellington. And you just have to contact them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we've already, and we had to put our names in by last Friday. So did anyone else put their hands up? No. Okay.
Rachel.
Yes, Rachel and myself. She was not here. That's all good. Thank you, John. Cheryl, would you like to?
Yeah, Elizabeth Stacey's online. Are we able to ask her questions, or she'll leave to another meeting?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Are you there, Elizabeth?
Through the chair, Elizabeth is in another meeting at the moment. And isn't able to join in this call. I'll continue to call her, and as soon as she's available, she will probably jump in, but she's just involved in another meeting.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, perhaps maybe we could invite her to either the June or July meeting to talk about the footpaths and.
Could, through the chair, could we get I'm sure Bev's going to follow it up, just an answer around the
renewals.
If that is a renewal at the moment at Awanui.
Okay.
Both Bev and Fleur will note that, I'm sure, and we'll continue to follow up.
Thank you. Thanks, Marlena. Okay, we can move into public excluded.
Yeah, I'll just ask Cheryl if she would like to give a verbal update of what. No, how about Hilda? Would you like to give a verbal update, Hilda? Did you want to raise anything? Or?
Hi, kia ora. I suppose I just wanted to raise something that was sort of sent to me in a bit of panic was one of our kaumātua in one of the units, I think in Pakeha, elderly units, was sent a text that he had to vacate his room. And he got in a real panic, and the whānau got in a panic, and so I sort of sent an RFS, but I hadn't got a reply about that. And I tried to say to one of the members of the whānau, well, I don't think the council would be sending, you've got to move out for renovation notices by text. It should be by a letter. So that was for Suburb King, and I haven't got a reply on that one. So I'm sure nobody in council would be sending notices by text. And he was quite distraught. And so I've had no reply about that one. That would be good if somebody.
What number is he in?
Sorry?
Do you know what number he's? Is it Paki?
Yeah.
Paki Avenue.
Yeah. I haven't been able to contact him either, so I've just been dealing with his whānau who live in Hamilton. Went out to the Pangaruhui about a special meeting out there with the residents out there who sort of came to council hui. They've got great big craters in their road, and they challenged the matrix, which decided that they weren't deemed important and a priority at all for at least a couple of years. And it was really, we just sat there and listened for about 2.5 hours. But, it was really quite sad that, you've got quite a vibrant little community in Pangaru that do the best. But, when you've got men leaving work every day, and they don't know whether they'll come home and their wives or their children or their grandchildren will be safe, because they don't know if they've sort of negotiated the great big ditches in the road that are sort of deeper than a metre. So that was interesting, and from that, Moko has formed a specialist committee and they're just trying to use it as a template that it didn't meet, even though it happened during an emergency. It didn't, there's all these criteria you have to meet, but they don't meet. Whatever. So anyhow, form this little roading committee, and they're going to try and use it as a template, to ensure that people are just going to be safe to get home. So that was an interesting hui. May the 24th, 1 p.m. is the Moringaihe hui, which I'd sort of like to ask the community board members who can make it, where we go back as a council to address the local hapu about what happened since last year when they requested that the land out there be turned into a historic reserve. So that's May 24th, 1 p.m.
And then I think, just to say that myself and Felicity are now sort of hearings commissioners. And there's about 20 hearings to be held over the next, 18 months or so. And so we just sort of involved for that. I think the first one coming up is 27th to the 30th of May is tangata whenua, issues that affect tangata whenua. Perhaps, I'm not sure. Some of them are quite wide. And then, of course, we've got four weeks to keep deliberating on the LTP, which is really important that I know the community board put their recommendations in, and there's a whole bunch of other sort of loose ends, some that I don't know the process yet, that are renewals, that are unfinished earlier projects. So it's really important that, those interesting to hear that guy, Eric Wagner, talking about it. Obviously he was a commissioner, councillor before. Yeah. So,
It's a general feeling out there, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Through the chair, just while we're talking about Eric, one of the main reasons he was here, and he didn't speak about it, is he has sent numerous emails and phone calls to talk to Moko, and he's had no reply. And that's not quite right. Because Eric's been councillor, and his letters are thorough.
And he's representing the ratepayers as well. It's not like it's coming from him.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Hilda, for your input. So, all in favour? Thank you. I think lunch will be here.
Shall we go into public exclusion and get it over with?
Yeah. So I'll move that we go into public exclusion. Good. So we've got minutes from there.
Do we finish our...
No, we go back into public after this. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, if you can just wait while I finish up all. Thank you. Well, can I just confirm that we are going to cease the transmission?
Thank you. Welcome back into the public part of the meeting. We're now going to close the meeting. Do I have someone to close, please?
Okay. E te kaihano ngā me katoa tia ki pai tēnei rōpū e whiripiri pakaronga te hāpuri pāni o te hiku o te ika. Tia ki pai I nei hoki ana ki ngā kainga maha manaki tia ki rōpū katoa me te hāpuri pāni Harmony.
Harmony. Kia pai tō koutou rā, ka kite.
Madam Chair, we're going to have the whole strategy straight after lunch, are we?
Yes, we need to call in.
So we're going to close the meeting.
We'll just also
we can. The meeting's closed.
So that's 1:30, Lizzie.